So today we're going to talk about something that might be a bit of a problem upcoming in Valorant, because we're going to take a look at two rounds that happen on Fracture in two completely separate games. One is in NA Challengers and the other is from VCT China. And well, just watch these rounds and see if you can notice something that you might think might be a problem.
It's going to be the full bonus coming through, and rifles in the hands of Winthrop. His engagement already in.
Yeah, I feel like the vibes are off if you're calming, like, let's drink the forbidden Kool-Aid and just go next. And leave M80 with a healthy bonus. Oh, jeez. Trying to wrap around as Winthrop moves always to kick things off. The spark plug to this team, the ultimate sentinel. Try and anchor this retake. And the Thorns are going to delay some things, and Moves wants to waste no time and is just taking unnecessary damage, worried about the spam that could come through main after being communicated that M80 are there, and such post-plant potential. With Okeanos, the nades, and the rest of M80. A delay, but Winthrop are getting the kills. The defuse is halfway, and okay, Okeanos!
Last player standing.
The bomb specialist with the 4K. Are we for real?
因为他手里还有光速飞跃嘛，配合上 Simon 的这个满道具，是有机会。
是，而且裂变峡谷这张地图好就好在它能量球确实比较多啊。就进攻方即便丢了手段局，但是可以去吸一下球。
两段，
快速安包，
安置爆能器，然后速六回王再回去
啊！这一套，哎，不回了，直接在点内。
对，在包点当引子。
那其实这个信息是清楚的呀，因为没有看到
单边被断掉了，
没有看到回溯的一个影子。
对，球球现在被击落之后，现在对康康来说，他是一个腹背受敌的情况。他要做的其实是为高丽莎队友争取时间去脱包啊，但是高丽莎有烟啊，你后续仍然要下跳，而且有一把燎拳已经在这混烟了。而
且看一下火第一时间要不要给这个包再拆了，精准投放先放。先稍微拖一下，拖第一波，然后后续 Smoky 倒了，但已经没有火了。矩阵余波有吗？没有，因为 Nova 直接大部队过来去清剿了。哦，火还是给上了，那时间拖完了。
时间拖完了，Eco 翻盘 ，EDG 靠着一个可能看起来。
So you probably noticed the problem. There's a ton of post-plant kind of cringe stuff going on there in both of those clips, which ended up with the team that had the worst eco. So in this round, M80 are on their bonus. In the other round, EDG had actually lost the pistol and won the second round because of it. Right, doing this very cringe idea. Let's start off with, I mean, it's a nice concept, right, to start off. Both teams actually do this, you know, where they smoke off the duelists so that they can go plant. Right, so both teams, obviously this is the game plan, is, you know, we're going to try and create time pressure as much as we can. One thing I want you to note, though, you know, obviously in both these clips, is it's not like they have any ults with this as well, right? It's not like they've also ulted, and therefore that's where they're getting their advantage, right? There are no ults there. I also want to note that they use the tail missiles to enter, right? Keep this in mind for this M80 clip, is that they actually have already used their tail missiles. They're going to get them back online at the end of this and kill 3 people with them, right? That's the problem. Also on top of this, the defenders get the first kill in both of these clips, right? We get the first kill as the defenders, and I wouldn't say this is overly slow, you know, from Winthrop here. Like, this is quite normal pace kind of retake, right? We're waiting for the team to all get here. Now we're kind of clearing space as a team, right? And now just comes the cringe, right? And this is the thing with this kind of post plant, that, you know, we haven't seen it in a little while, and, you know, they have obviously changed how spam works so that maybe these aren't, you know, fully as efficient as they used to be, because you could spam on top of it, which is good. But the fact that this is still a possibility, right, is a problem. Like, we can just call it what it is, right? Call a spade a spade. This is a problem. You know, the fact that the M80 can win this round in this kind of style. Because the problem that you get with this kind of post plant is, if you're the defenders, right, you might say, oh, well, if they're just doing this the whole time, and if they're just playing super offsite and all that, well, they can just run to here straight away, right? And they can just, you know, spend the time actually, you know, running down here and being faster about it, right? So it's fine, there's no problem. But the problem is, you as the retakers, when you're coming back here, you don't know if they're playing this post plant, right? They could be all on site, right? Just waiting for you to run into them. So you still have to go through all of your normal protocols for this first bit. Because unless you've got like a Cypher ult or something, right? You don't know. So they could be doing either. And that is the main problem. It was the problem with the spam post plants as well. It's like, you still need to go through all of your normal checklists to check that they're not doing that. And you might be able to be a bit quicker if you think that this is something that they might be doing. But it's not probably going to be maybe enough to always guarantee that you're now going to win, right? And as I say, a big problem with this is the fact that they've used the tail missiles initially to get in. And the tail missiles is going to be the thing that ends up winning them the round at the end here as well. Even as they try and boop away the Brim Molly just there, right? So this is a problem, right? And I think it probably is only really going to be a mega problem on Fracture, you might say, because obviously Brim is a big part of this, right? Brim and the fact that you can also have a Brim Molly, you know, is a big part of that. But you could, you know, realistically say that Astra can also, you know, somewhat do similar sort of things. And if you take a look at kind of the comp that we're looking at here for M80, right, it's not like Raze is a bad pick on other maps, and Raze didn't even get involved. That's the thing, you could add a Raze nade to this in other rounds where the Raze lives as well, right? You know, you've got Teo, you've got Breach, you've got Vice. Like, those are going to be pretty common picks on a lot of different maps, right? It's not just going to be Fracture where those are common picks. And you could swap that Vice for a Killjoy and, you know, go even further in this direction, right? So the fact that this is possible to do is quite worrying, I would say. If we take a look at the EDG example here as well, right? They're going to end up losing a 5v3 to 3 classics, right? Where they do kill everyone. There's something about it which doesn't feel right. You know, and in this one they don't use the tail missiles, but they could, right? Nobody could use his tail missiles as they're entering in here if he wanted to. And he probably would get them back by the time, you know, we get to the end of the round. So it's the same idea, you know, in the smoke, plant the spike. And this is the thing, again, this isn't super slow, right? Because this guy is worried about a lurk that is there. And they do get this kill, right? So you're not telling this guy, oh, no, you need to sprint as quickly as you can over here. You know, because he does get a kill from finding a lurk. And Kang, who's kind of been left on the site here, they deal with him pretty well, right? Like, this is pretty well done by Nova. There's nothing wrong with what they do here. You know, they end up killing him. It's quite good. Now we're in a 5v3. Now we're fine. Now, okay, they tail missile themselves off, which just cost them a little bit of time. But it's the Neon who goes and runs up and, you know, goes to the spike. So that's saving them a bit of time. And now here comes the, you know, the Aftershock and the Brim Molly and the tail missiles. And all of a sudden, you know, the round is over. And they end up killing all of them. And it doesn't matter, right? So this kind of round, I just don't think that, you know, people want to see this, right? Like, it's just not really a fun watch. It's kind of a cheesy way of winning a round, right? That is kind of like low skill. You know, you're just praying essentially that they aren't there, right? If you're EDG in this round versus Nova, you're essentially just saying like, I hope they're not dish. As long as, you know, they aren't prioritizing this and we can just get there and the spike down, we have a good chance of winning. That just doesn't feel that good. Obviously, Teo, I think, is a major component to this, right? That once you get to a certain amount of utility, you know, if you ever go over the line in terms of that, in terms of post-plant utility, that's when you start to run into issues. And I think that Teo has, you know, probably pushed us over that line, particularly in Brim comps. And, well, hopefully some kind of major change needs to come, because Teo obviously is one, very strong, you know, very high pick rate, but also is creating moments like this, which, you know, I think most of us can probably agree doesn't belong in the game.